People usually think when you work in a corporation, you've got very little sense of ownership. And I think we're here today to really understand that beginning of the journey for Farzad in Tesla. So we rewind the clock now almost 6 years ago. For someone who just met you the first time, how will you describe your 4.5 years at Tesla, working in both Pennsylvania and Austin?
It was very it was both the most rewarding and challenging job I've ever had, easily. I think for me, I was very passionate about the company's mission from the it's facts. She is the true boss, 100% facts. And I'm here saying, yeah, it's me. No, it's my freaking okay, yeah, seriously. Yeah. Um the most challenging and the most rewarding. I hope my wife sees this because I know she'll laugh. Anyway, let me
I'll
see if I
just
can
put
get
this up
mine.
for a few more minutes.
Perfect. Yeah, 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 yeah. Just make it into the background. Like, so let's figure out how to make it into the background. The most rewarding and difficult for sure. Um, it was a place where I joined it because I really wanted to be part of history in a way. I really wanted to be part of that story because I was just so I felt like Tesla was getting so unfairly treated in the press. I felt like the company was getting a lot of negative attention it didn't deserve. Uh, partly because I'm an investor. I was an investor at the time as well. So obviously, if I'm invested in the company and I feel like people are dragging it through the mud on purpose, it's going to make me upset. But at the same time, I also had and still do have great admiration for Elon Musk and the people that work there because I'm like, man, look at these guys. They're literally busting their butts to try and move the future forward. And when the opportunity came up for me to be part of that story, I had to take it. I had to absolutely take it. I took a pay cut. I increased my hours by double. So it's basically an effective 4x. To my earnings per hour, whatever you want to call it. Like I took like a massive cut, but the long term potential of the company to me was very clear. And when I joined the company, when I uh, made a negotiation for my compensation, I ensured that it was built around that. So with the intention that, hey, I want to be here for the long term so that I can capitalize on the returns of my time there. And I think looking back, that was a very risky thing for me to do because if the company failed for whatever reason,
Mhm.
I would have lost out on a lot of earnings from being there because at my previous job I was a executive at a distribution company, and I was well on my way to become part of the let's call it the chief suite. I was a director, and I had a lot of great things going for me, and I was very thankful for those opportunities. And so, if it
Mm.
failed, I would have been like out my stock. I would have taken a pay cut, and I would have worked 80 hours, 100 hours a week. And from that perspective, it would have sucked. But what wouldn't have changed was the fact that I was part of that story,
Mm.
because ultimately, that's what truly drove me to that place. And if I look back now and I think, okay, say the company went under for whatever reason, would I still have regretted my decision to work there? And it would have been simply a no, because the amount of knowledge I gained from my time there, especially around getting stuff done that seemed impossible, is invaluable. And that is part of the reason that now I feel so comfortable with things like trying different stuff all the time, not being too afraid of trying things that are maybe weird or that they're outside of the norm, or trying to approach things from a novel place and not trying too much to like reason by analogy, but just approach it from a very baseline sort of fresh base. Try my best to the best of my ability, and that type of, I feel like, lesson is invaluable, regardless of how much you get paid. That type of lesson is invaluable. And being at a place where you got to experience that from everybody was a reinforcement that said that this is a legitimate way of approaching it. And the fact that Tesla was incredibly successful is proof that that approach is not just very valuable, but it seems to be by far the best way to do anything, given Tesla's metrics and you compare it to the rest of the competition. And so it's just, and that's just like 30,000 feet. One of my biggest takeaways and learnings from there and sort of my time there was that. And, but it ain't easy, man. And it's not for everybody. It's not for everybody. I think a person has to be willing to take feedback very bluntly. They have to remove their ego as much as humanly possible. And they have to be willing to sacrifice a certain amount of time from their personal life, and also a certain amount of mental capacity that you're going to be working. I mean, really, you're working 24/7. You just don't know it. Because even when you're home, you're like, oh my God, how do I solve this? How do I solve this? You're on the weekend, you might be out to dinner with your wife or your girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever. Oh my God, crap. And you're like, uh-huh, yes, honey, yeah. And in the back of your mind, you're like, oh man, that freaking thing. Like, it's just constant, constant, constant. So and the work is so rewarding and it's so engaging that it's almost impossible to not do that.